Good Sunday evening. I hope you had a wonderful day of worship. We are in a brand new book, Numbers. And of course, when you think of that book, you're like, okay, you're going to be reciting a bunch of digits. But no, this book is much richer than just a series of data. Even though the first chapter opens up with pretty much a census counting of the 12 tribes, except one, where Levi, the tribe of Levi, they were in charge of the tents and the administration. But there's a counting, and I was talking to Timotheus about how the Supreme Court, it's imminent right now, the decision for them to include a question in next year's census count, 2020. They want to ask, or the question Trump administration want to ask, are you a U.S. citizen, right? And of course, there's a lot of controversy with that. Some people are saying that they want to put as a foundation white power, to get back into rolling back. And it's even calling to remembrance Plessy versus Ferguson. And, look that up. But that pretty much cemented segregation tactics and Jim Crow laws and, the railroad. But I remember learning about all of that in high school. Anyway, all of this is pertinent to 2019. And this weekend, how I was telling Timotheus about how, there was supposed to be a sweep in Chicago, I guess 10 major cities. But, our mayor was like, no, we're not going to have that. But ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, was going to, check to see if people were illegal citizens or immigrants or what have you. So there's a lot going on. But something especially spoke to me in this chapter. It was in verse 32 where it's saying the roster of families and households for the descendants of Joseph. And remember, Joseph had two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And the total of Ephraim's family, males who were over the age of 20, was 40,000, and Manasseh was 32,200. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of young men who were counted for hundreds of years because of Joseph's righteous life and his two sons and how it went into the future. And I recall, because someone was like, this book didn't speak to me. I was like, no. Don't you remember how your grandfather, before he went on to glory, he called you multiple times in his room, in his presence, and laid hands on his legacy, on his descendant. And he spoke, right? Just like, in the Old Testament, the patriarchs would give a birthright, a blessing to their grandchildren and their sons and what have you for the firstborn. Well, he did the same thing for Timotheus, which was his grandson. What do you have to say about that? And I asked Timotheus, what type of grandfather do you want to be? One day you're going to want a son, and you're going to want that son to have some children. Go ahead. How do you think that affected you? That your grandfather laid hands on you?
He gave me something to look up to.
Gave you something to look up to, right? Right? And what type of grandfather do you want to be one day?
A wise one.
A wise one, a mighty one, one of example. And I'm not sure if my father laid hands on you, but no, he held you many times and he prayed for you. And that's what we have to do to our children and our grandchildren while we have the time, because we're just a dot on the timeline of eternity, and we want to impact the future generations so that they can do great things. So stay woke. There's a lot going on with the laws, with this administration. Be up on it, and let's be prayerful for the future, because we're leaving a world for them so that they can impact change. All right. Have a good evening in the Lord. Do you have anything else? All right. God bless. Enjoy.